Hey, Gabriel,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
I still didn't move to the armchair. I'm in the exact same spot I was last week and the week before and the week before. Probably since we recorded in person.
It's going to be 2 weeks. Yeah, but in 2 weeks, probably at the longest hour, or we can decide like some other place. But yeah, meanwhile, while still we have like multiple states in between us because I'm still in Chicago, sitting in the same desk on the same chair. What did we watch this time?
This was your pick, right? I've been confusing them lately. We're turning into one person, Jose, cinematically at least. We're returning to the world of Jean-Luc Godard, inspired partly that for whatever reason you've been able to see his movies in cinemas recently,
Yep.
and because of his very recent passing.
Yep.
We just watched Breathless a couple weeks ago, and so now we're seeing his other... I could be wrong, but this is one of like the staples of French New Wave. It's one of the most important French New Wave films.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it comes a bit from the only movie that I had watched from Godard. It was Alphaville, that I watched twice, and I walk away like both times. Like, this is not as good as I expected, coming from such a famed director. So you recommended both Breathless and A Band of Outsiders. And I'm lucky enough, I'm going to be like this, I'm going to try to get them to sponsor us. I was lucky enough to go to the Jane Siskel, to have the Jane Siskel Theater here in Chicago, and they had a special of Au revoir Godard, where they were playing like some of his most famous movies. Alphaville was actually there. I think that it was Band of Outsiders, Breathless, Alphaville, I think that it was Alphaville, and Pierrot Le Faux.
I forgot. This is our third Godard film. And like
No, it's second. We didn't talk about Breathless.
We didn't do Breathless, but we've both seen it. Okay.
Yeah, we've seen it. So I was curious, about like just trying to soak in as much as possible. And I had to say that Breathless left me like a really good taste, So I was like really curious about this one because I think that after watching it, both of them like have some very iconic things associated with them. I think that cinema actually remembers this movie, So that was the reason why I picked it up. And as it was my pick, you have to summarize this.
For some reason, summarizing this film intimidates me, even though I do feel it's a pretty simple plot. But here we go. So the film takes place in Paris and in the suburbs of Paris. And it centers around a woman named Odile. And Odile lives in the French suburb called Joinville with her aunt and a boarder called Mr. Stoltz. When she's kind of spying on Mr. Stoltz's room, she discovers a huge pile of francs.
Of francs?
Francs, like French, like the French.
Oh, francs. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Francs, yeah. So she goes to English classes where she meets a young man named Franz, and she tells Franz about this giant pile of money. He tells his best friend Arthur about the money, and the two plan to steal it. So both. Do you have something?
I was just going to say is that we never see them meeting up, or how Odile tells Franz about the money.
Okay, because I'm reading this is coming from the Wikipedia article, and I was like, I don't remember this first meeting. Okay.
No, because even like the aunt, like the owner of the house, she asked them about like, hey, are you still meeting up with this guy called Franz? Is like, so it looks that they have had a relationship before the movie started. I think that the movie opens with the two guys just going to the house, like trying to find her, that they see her from away, and there is a narration of Arthur.
Okay.
I think that is Arthur. Yeah.
So then I know this part's in the film. Franz and Arthur go to the English class together, and Arthur just like we were saying right before we started recording, he's kind of a psychopath, just like he's gonna take what he wants and expect everyone to just be happy about it. So he starts hitting on her hard. This film, I believe, is pretty misogynistic because Odile is basically a helpless, dumb bimbo who puts up with whatever, but it was a different time. So he hits on her hard. They kind of become a thing. She has these ideas about marriage is like giving your thighs and breasts to a man. She has these very weird things she says to him. And the three end up going to a cafe for drinks, and they have the most iconic dance scene of all time, which is so... I mean, when you think about how cool French New Wave was, this scene comes to mind. Like, they're dancing, sometimes the music stops, they keep dancing, the narration happens, we learn about characters through this ironic narration.
I have to say, sorry to interrupt, but I love like how the background boys like singing about like, this is what Odile was thinking at the time, and during that moment is that they stop the music, but you can still hear like how they are dancing, like the steps. It's when exactly, it's like you realize that is that probably when they were recording there was no sound whatsoever.
Yeah, I had the same thought. And it's a little bit off, and you can kind of tell.
Yeah, it's like how awkward it had to be like for the actors, because that scene lasts like 4 minutes, because the narration comes back and forth, about like, and this is when he realizes about, and it doesn't push like the story in any kind of way. Most of the narration feels almost like ironic about like, I had to put some narration here, so I'm going to be like putting it.
Yeah, the narration is very ironic, which is a hallmark of French New Wave, which was established essentially by a band apart. So Arthur's uncle finds out about the money and demands a cut of it, which it turns out to be important later. And then we just kind of see these iconic scenes, like the three run through the Louvre trying to beat a specific time. Also, I wanted to tell you, my sister has been married to her husband, who's a big cinema buff. They've been married for 20 years. For 20 years, he's been begging me and my sister for the three of us to dress up as these three for Halloween.
Gotcha. I thought that it was running through the Louvre.
No, but I don't know if you remember The Dreamers, the Bertolucci film, where he basically just recreates Michael Pitt is in it, and it's like incestuous with two French siblings, and then first James Bond girl for Daniel Craig that was so good.
Pierce Brosnan?
No, the Daniel Craig version. Do you remember the very first one? She was super tortured, and she goes down in the elevator in Venice and drowns. That actress. She's fantastic.
Okay, cool. Eva Green.
Anyway, so they go to Odile's house to steal the money, but doors that have never been locked are locked, and they can't get in. They climb up a ladder, they can't get through the window, and they don't want to break it. But then they run into Victoria, which is the aunt of Odile, and they tie her up and put her in a closet, and they take the key to Mr. Stoltz's room. They get into the room. There's no money, or very little money, a lot less. And they're like, is this all the money? And Odile's like, no, there was so much more.
Did you say that they put it in a closet, the aunt?
It's like a bureau. But
yeah. And then they actually think that they have killed her.
Yeah, so when they don't find that much money, they go to ask her where the rest of it is, and she's like not breathing. She seems to be dead, so they think they killed her. So they decide to drive away, but at the last moment, it was Arthur, right? Arthur was like, I just want to go back and like double check. And he does go back, and they arrange to meet at a cafe. But Arthur finds the rest of the money hidden in a dog
was in the doghouse. Yeah. I love that dog. I love like when Odile says, he's like, is he going to park? He's like, no, he's not. I asked him not to. French dogs are so polite.
So in the meantime, Franz and Odile actually end up coming back. At the same time, Arthur's uncle shows up while Arthur has the money in his hands, and they just shoot each other multiple times.
No. It's like Arthur receives like 5 bullets to the chest, and he starts like just a slow motion, like keep walking, and he shoots once only, and then the uncle dies.
And he dances around. It's the weirdest death scene I've ever seen. And you see Franz and Odile in the background just watching it happen, standing there, which is fair. Like, I'm not going to get involved in a gunfight.
But when they die, it's like Odile like just runs, and she has like the most dramatic tree hugging that I've seen in my life. yeah, sorry, highest, but with this kind of golden age Hollywood face, like super dramatized. Is like that scene is like almost like a homage parody of any kind of noir that you have seen in your life.
So Franz and Odile drive off with only the small amount of money, which still seemed to be like a considerable amount, but it wasn't the full fortune. They just drive off and they have like this very calm conversation about how they're sad and feel bad, and then they decide to go off to South America, to Brazil actually, and they realize that they're in love with each other, and it ends.
Yeah, pretty much it. Yeah. I don't think that it had like much more. It has like something in common with Breathless. It's like you can summarize it in a couple of sentences, but it's more about like the tone and the randomness of stuff that it happens there. You know, a movie that I thought about when I was watching this and Breathless?
What?
Celine Dion Goes Bobbing.
Whoa.
I just say that I just thought about it. I'm not comparing them from a quality standpoint, you know, because neither of them last 3 hours, just to begin with.
The French New Wave are all mercifully short. They're all like right around 90 minutes. I'm sure we could find one that's long, but like the style at the time was a 90-minute film.
Well, I just think that Celine Dion falls into this bucket too, because there is a bit of magic realism
about the journey and these weird spending time with these characters in these kind of unexpected moments is way more important than the shootout. In fact, it doesn't even feel like it builds to a climax. It's just like then they danced at the bar, and then it's the MacGuffin, you know. It's a bit more about like just stealing the money. It's like something that is in the background for just justifying everything that happens in between. Yeah.
So it's almost like the title of Celine and Julie Go Boating.
Is that what the real title is?
It's like, well, it's like, they never go boating. And then, well, they do. After 3 hours, they do go boating.
One of the first films I ever reviewed online as a critic was The Mummy Returns, I think.
God.
And do you remember that movie, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
I don't think so.
It was a very famous book. They turned it into a movie. It's called The Sisterhood of Traveling Pants. And I ended my review saying, something like, this movie's not good. Go see that movie about girls who share pants. And I've been proud of that for 20 years. All right, back to Band Apart. So for me personally, this was an interesting experience because when I saw this movie for the first time, I must have been 23, 24, somewhere there, and I was right in the throes of my obsession with French New Wave, and I just thought this was the greatest movie ever. Like, I was like, wow, this is incredible. This time around, I was like, I can see how this was important in terms of the evolution of film, but I wasn't super compelled by it, nor did I think it was particularly exceptional. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. And I'm sure that it did a lot of interesting things for the first time. One of the really cool scenes that come to mind is when they're in the cafe. I don't think they've danced yet. But
no, it was before. It's when they start like sitting next to each other
and rotating seats and getting up and leaving. And at some point, I think it's Arthur that says like, talking is overrated. Why is everyone always obsessed with talking? Let's have
Let's give 1 minute silence. Yeah.
And then the sound just cuts out. And I think it's an actual minute. I didn't time it, but it's like,
no, it's not.
It's
like a 30, 40 seconds, and then he actually says like, well, it's enough. You know, there is like this kind of frantic feeling to everything that they're doing, like how they're jumping from one thing to another, you know. But it just made me think of a song that it was like just popular like in the 50s or 60s in Spain. In the 60s probably. It's like, I was not alive, but my mother used to tell me that it's like, hey, look, there was this song when I was little that my father hated, that it was a lo loco se vive mejor, that is like going crazy is funnier to live. And I felt it's like, this is a bit more of the kind of, I don't know, like atmosphere that I get from this, you know, like from this movie.
And it's a very cool atmosphere. Like, this film is, I would call it literally like cool. And like I said, I'm sure I did a lot of things for the first time, and it is an excellent example of the love triangle and the ironic narration and kind of that just experimental filmmaking. But I would say good movie. That's what I would
Good job, Godard. Here you go, a gold star for you. Yeah, I mean, I was entertained through it, albeit there is not too much cohesion between one thing and the other. It feels like a bit more random. Breathless has like a similar MacGuffin. That is that we have this bad guy that is back in Paris and he's trying to get some money back from someone. I think that it is a bit more cohesive than a band apart. Than a band of outsiders. Crap, I keep calling it a band apart.
I do that all the time. I also think that which came first, Breathless or a Band of Outsiders?
Now you're making.
I have a theory, but I need to see which film came out. Oh my god.
Breathless is 60 and Band of Outsiders is 64.
Breathless is 64. Okay. Just FYI, Jean-Luc Godard has 131 directing credits. The last one in 2018.
Who thinks he is? Fassbinder or what?
So, Breathless had some boldness to it. It had problems, but it was bold and even more experimental.
Yeah.
And even though I'd say it has more problems than A Band of Outsiders, I would say it's a more interesting film at this point. But at least we can see where he kind of started.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you that it's more bold, it's more ironic, it's more on your face in some aspects. Is that the guy, I don't know, you remember, he's always wearing shades and he's always just rubbing his thumb and his lips all the time. And then at the end, I just feel like Breathless has way more message than this. This I feel is like, this is your, I won't say like Hollywood, but it's that this is like your entertaining movie. This is like you just I want to do like something cool. I don't want to just spend too much time thinking about anything. I just want to make like several scenes that they look cool together. You know, he was doing like his pulp movie, as he actually the main character, and at the end is like, hey, I just felt like I was trapped in a pulp novel. There is that. Oh, okay, yeah. If I think about it, is that there are a lot of different scenes. They connect with each other with an overarching story, but it's a bit random too. It's like everything is cool by itself, and you just trust that everything put together just build to something. That it
I mean, the narrator actually says that at the very end.
Yeah.
They're like preparing to go to Brazil, and they're like, well, and this is where the story ends, just like a pulp movie.
Yep. It would have ended earlier, later, but you know, it's here. From that perspective, I think that Breathless has more weight to it. You know, it may be like a bit having like ups and downs, but I feel like Breathless, if you ever want to watch it and discuss it, I will be down for rewatching it again. Because it's also super cool, it's iconic, it has like the same elements that this one, but I just feel like it pushes things like a bit forward. I ended up watching Breathless and just thinking about like, oh, what are like the messages behind all this? What is the commentary that Godard was doing on this one? I just felt it's like, probably Godard already felt like, I did all the commentary already, so let's just do something cool.
I find it interesting, I just saw this. I didn't know Breathless was his first film. So he did a couple between Breathless and this, but in these situations, I'm always reminded of, because we've literally been best friends since Steve McQueen started making films, right? Or no, he released Hunger before we met, but then like all the others came out since we've been together.
But you told me about Hunger and Shame at the same time.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you actually let me later.
Like, I find directors early on in their career more interesting when they're taking risks, even when they don't pay off. So, like, Hunger to me is insane compared to 12 Years a Slave, which technically is an exceptional film, but not as interesting to me. And I feel that way a little bit about Jean-Luc Godard. Breathless was more interesting, even if it had more problems compared to this, which is a little more tame.
It's more palatable.
More palatable, yes.
Yeah. And actually talking with my boyfriend, we went with my boyfriend to watch it, and he was saying, he's like, hey, I think that this is more entertaining than Breathless. If I only like evaluate this, if I evaluate a movie as a piece of entertainment, is that this is more straightforward and more easy to digest.
Breathless again. Maybe I'll do that. It's extra credit homework.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I will be down for actually having like a small call out in one of the next episodes.
Oh, we could have a mini podcast, 10 minutes on Breathless.
You know that it's not going to be like 10 minutes only. I think that one thing that is like pretty obvious, I guess, that is like a sign of all the new wave cinema is what I was mentioning about. Like, it's clear that this guy saw like a lot of cinema up to that point, and he's making this as a reaction of classic cinema. About like, yeah, I know all of this shit. I'm going to make it like a parody of many of those movies, because you could even see like the dance scene is like straight from a musical, but he actually removes most of the elements. It's not such a fancy choreography or anything. It's a choreography that we could memorize in 30 seconds and just doing it.
Did we mention when we did the podcast about Alphaville that Godard was a film critic before he became a director? Yeah, so I mean, it makes sense that he
like a series du cinema.
So much. Yeah. That's right. We did mention that. You did that. I didn't know the publication he wrote for.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely see, like, how Steven Spielberg likes to make movies about making movies. I feel like that's what these directors in the French New Wave were doing. They were all critics, and are like, we're gonna make movies about all the criticism we've done.
But I mean, it's more like Steven Spielberg is like really on your face. It's about like literally about making movies, and Godard is a bit more of a critique about movies. It's like, I'm making a movie that is going to be like making parody of movies, and
which is in itself is an interesting intellectual exercise, more interesting than what Spielberg does, in my opinion.
Well, but Spielberg is a bit more of face value entertainment.
Yeah.
And I think that Godard is like, hey, if you know about cinema, you have watched like a lot of cinema, is that you're going to be like laughing with us. If you haven't, is that probably you're going to be like thinking, what the fuck is this guy doing? What is the point of all of this? But when you're in for the joke, it feels like, oh my God, it's like this is actually pretty cool, like the idea. And I think that now that we have been exposed to so much cinema, in our case that we have seen like so much cinema from different decades, we can identify about like, hey, probably this movie released by nowadays standard wouldn't be having like the same weight. Is that this a bit more about like just stuck on that moment of time.
I do feel like France in particular and the 60s created the perfect environment for these films to be created, and they couldn't have happened in any other country in any other time. And I'm glad it did, because like now when we see the influence of French New Wave, like the ironic narration, for instance, I love that shit. I love when directors use it. When they break the fourth wall, when they do weird things like turn off all the sound, like that's cool shit nowadays.
But the funny thing about like the minute of silence, there is like any other cinema maker probably would actually go with like, hey, I'm going to be like just making the actors go quiet. It's like, no, he kills the sound. He's like just
sitting in silence, and it's uncomfortable.
Exactly, it's like, look, he wants to actually just make you aware that it's like, this is a freaking movie. It's like, I'm going to be manipulating everything how I want, and that's the reason for the music thing on the doesn't see like coming in and out. Many of the narration is like, he's just playing with the medium, and he's like pretty playful at that. He's like just having a good time. It's like you can realize that it's like he knows what he's doing. He knows that it's like, hey, maybe this movie is going to be studied like 30 years in the future, or maybe not. But it's like, I'm doing what I want to do, what I know to do, about like just looking at classical cinema and making fun of it.
Yep, making fun with it.
Okay, that's true. Making fun with it. He's like, he's not doing like American Pie or scary movies. Like, he's not doing a parody. Not a disrespectful parody. He's doing a parody.
He's showing off his film knowledge, his also fairly accomplished filmmaking skills, and taking it one step further than the medium had been before.
Yeah. And now, as that we say about like just showing his skills and his knowledge, It's not a coincidence that Quentin Tarantino, like his production studio, is called A Band Apart. That is like a wordplay with A Band of Outsiders, that in French is Le Band Apart.
I think it's just Band Apart, no article.
Oh no, okay, yeah. But yeah,
no. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I don't think that there is something that I love. Oh god, like that I was just laughing almost like out loud in the cinema on the when they're on the English class, and the English teacher is pretty clear that she only knows like a couple of words in English, and everything else is just, like winging it by. And she says like, okay, we're going to be doing a dictation exercise. I'm going to be narrating something in French, and you guys are going to be like writing it down in English. It's pretty clear that most of the people have no freaking idea about English. There is a guy like drinking, otherwise like not paying any kind of attention, and she starts reading Romeo and Juliet in French. It's like, just translate this on the fly. Of course, no one is paying any kind of attention or anything. Odile and Arthur, they're like just crossing like some notes. Yeah. Is that part? It was like, it's so absurd.
He's like a bearish type guy sitting in the back row, and at some point he just pulls out a small bottle of
a flask, yeah.
And he only offers some to Odile, right? Was it Odile?
No, it was not to Odile. No, it's to France. Oh,
it's France. He's like, no.
Yeah.
He doesn't offer it to anyone else.
No, because
Odile on his way out, and I was like, me too, move, not allowed.
Yeah, there's some parts that you were saying is like they didn't age too well. It's like that character, Odile character, the same way that the female character of Breathless is pretty decent, is that this one is pretty bad. Is that
I recall the leading actress for that role, she has a mind of her own. Like, she expresses opinions, right?
Yep.
This is like, I don't know if he hated women at the time or what, but this is like, she's offensively dumb, the character.
Well, isn't her like Anna Karina?
Yes, that's
Anna Karina. Yeah. It's the same actress. It's the same actress as Alphaville.
Oh, you're right. Now that you say it, I can even see it in my head, but I didn't put that together. No.
Well, because in this, she has a ponytail for most of the movie, I think.
She's the daughter of the doctor, right?
Correct. Yeah. But I think that is just on purpose. That Godard wanted to make like this prototype. About like just, hey, this is system movies. So he actually amped it up to the 11. I'm going to make it like even dumber than you have ever seen. He's just pushing the envelope from every direction. About like, hey, you have seen something like this, but never as oblivious.
Which, to be fair, so he made this film. It got released in '64. Let's say he made it in '63. He was a film critic for 10 years. The films he was watching did not treat women any better. So.
No, but that's what I said. That is like Breathless. I mean, not all the women, because some of them, they're only there for being abused by the main character. But the main girl is educated. She's a journalist. Is that she has like a career. She has like a place in the wall by herself.
Yeah.
This one.
Not Odile. Odile just to be consumed.
Yeah. Poor Odile, her only skill was like just talking with the dog.
Also, that pun at the end, I just wanted to slap Godard in the face, because the French word for crocodile is crocodile. So they're like on their way to Brazil, and she says, "Are there lions in Brazil?" And he's like, "Yes, and crocodiles."
Oh my God, that's right. I have forgotten about it.
Fuck you.
But I guess that is a bit more of thinking about the golden age of Hollywood, that all of the movies that will actually end up in a good spot.
Yeah.
There could be a joke, like for example, I mean, I know that it's not like a sadly golden age Hollywood, but Some Like It Hot is what it comes to mind.
I have not seen a single Marilyn Monroe film, not one.
Not even like the one directed by Billy Wilder.
I've only seen Billy Wilder films because you've made me.
Okay. The audience
Jose
cannot
is
see.
speechless.
He's like, I'm indignated right now.
I to be the ironic narrator. In this moment, Jose wondered why he was even friends with Blake.
Yep. You are like getting away from, like achieving one day the best friend category. Just say.
And I feel the same about you and your opinion about Ingmar Bergman. So,
well, I guess that we will never be best friends.
you take that back.
It's what I told you, that you are like getting away from even getting to best friend. Should we go over the questions?
Yes.
Would you watch it again?
Yeah, I would. It really is a good movie.
Yeah, I'll watch it again. Probably not tomorrow or in a month, but I would definitely watch it again. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, especially as an excellent example of the French New Wave, yes.
Yeah, I think that probably would recommend people to watch this before Breathless. I would actually tell them, like, watch them in disorder, because it's a bit more like palatable, and then the other one is a bit surprisingly deeper, let's just say. Maybe he spent like more time for us just thinking about like what he was going to be doing with his first movie, and then he was like just cranking them. I stuff.
Yeah, he had like 4 movies between these two. Those
Yeah.
two, so.
Yeah. Would you remember it?
That's an excellent question. I think in a year I'm gonna forget most of the plot elements. I'll remember the dance. I'll always remember the dance. But I had forgotten the entire plot line about stealing money. Like all of that was gone. And yes, it's been 20 years since I've seen it, but.
So are you going with no?
Yes, I'm going with no.
Yeah, I'm going with no too, sadly, for the same reason, is that there are many vignettes, let's say, on different things that happen, and the connection is so loose that it's about like this robbery that it comes like coming up back and forth, that I just feel like I'm not going to be like remembering at all.
Agreed.
Is there anything artistic about it?
Yes. The end. Just yes, period.
Don't ask me what. I will go with yes. I think that the uses of sound, the narration, it creates an impact. It creates like a statement about like how he's using the medium, and I think that that's artistic in itself.
Agreed.
Yeah. Is it a timeless piece?
Yes.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
There's nothing like it is, firmly rooted in terms of style of the clothing and black and white, but I don't think we lost anything with a passage of 60 years at all. I think
I'm going to say something and you will want to slap me in the face, so I'm happy that we're not recording this, but I just feel like this is the Lost Boys of the 60s. It's a good movie. It's
and this is the
significantly better.
last episode of the podcast if we're no longer friends.
But I honestly feel like there is quite a bit of a stylistic exercise on this movie. There is a focus for just like defining what is cool during these years.
I respect your opinion. I disagree, but I see what you say.
Okay, I'm not saying that it's not enjoyable outside of this, but I just had the feeling. I had the feeling that if I were to put it to a 25-year-old that they haven't watched like too much cinema, they're going to be like, "This is
Gen Z is lost. They will never appreciate anything of high value."
Okay, that's fair. But if I were to play The Exorcist for them, I think that they will enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true. But there are no subtitles, so.
Okay, dude. Okay. Let's go with that if you want. I just feel like every decade has like a set of movies that they try to define like what was cool back then. And I think, and I think that this tries really hard. Breathless does a bit of that too, And there is nothing wrong with being timely per se. I just feel like it requires like more context for actually capturing like more out of this movie.
I'll just say in defense of this, nobody's going to be watching The Lost Boys and recording a podcast in 30 years. We're still talking about a band of outsiders. That's why I'm hiding this.
I'm going to be like setting an alert for in 30 years from now, if we are still alive in 2052, for recording about The Lost Boys.
If that Gene Siskel is playing the Lost Boys in a retrospective in 2050, I will take you to the French Laundry.
Well, maybe the French Laundry doesn't exist anymore.
I'll take you to the French Laundry of 2050.
Okay. I wonder if they ever played Lost Boys. I'm pretty sure that they did. It's the kind, and I think that there is room for movies like The Lost Boys, that they are like just a statement of what is
like
cool.
a throwback, retro.
Yeah. It's like the Stranger. It's like the chronologically approved Stranger Things version of this is the 80s. We're going crazy on the 80s. Is that this is the system?
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. It's gotta be. It's like I don't think that this is like so on your face, but it's like The Lost Boys was like the 80s, like vomit on top of a cinema. Exactly the same that Stranger Things. And from that perspective, I think that this is a bit more toned down, but it's still like super 60s about like just showing what makes the 60s cool.
Yeah, I can see that.
Alright, would you turn this into a TV show?
No.
No, me neither. Could this have been a short?
Honestly, probably. It could get the story across in a short. The magic of the film are these long scenes that really are kind of irrelevant, like the scene in the cafe. So, what is my answer? I'm gonna say no.
Okay, you turn it to no. Yeah, I was going to go with yes, and you have convinced me that it's like you could have turned the story into a short, but you wouldn't have turned the feeling into a short. Do you think this movie could have been better?
The first thing that comes to mind is making the Odile have a brain, but again, I think it would change the fabric of what this wanted to be and what it became. So the answer is yes.
You think that it could have been better? Okay. I'm going to go with no for the perspective. I agree with you that Odile character is a wet fart, but I just feel like without that the movie would turn into something different, and it wouldn't be like the same kind of I don't want to say like commentary, but it wouldn't be like the same reflection of other movies as it is here. So before we score, is there any movie that you want to ask if I remember?
I want to hear what you remember about B-Traps.
You already asked me about that one.
Yeah, I know. I asked you already. Yes. Tell me what you remember about Mauvais Sang.
Mauvais Sang. I don't even remember like how to write that. It really was like a movie called that.
Yep. It's from 1986.
What episode is this?
It's not an episode. It's number. Where is it? 41. Row 41.
Oh, okay. Let's see, 41. Oh, row 41. Oh wow, you're like going for movies that we didn't even record about.
Yeah, because we're really at the bottom of the barrel on this exercise.
Okay, we can stop it. This is the last time. This was Leo Carax too. It was Bad Blood. Holy, it was Juliette Binoche. I remember the
David
amazing.
Bowie.
The what?
Oh, sorry, the music by David Bowie.
Oh, nice. I didn't remember that part. But and there is an amazing scene in an aeroplane where they're doing like jumping from it, and Juliette Binoche gets faint because it was like 20 years ago where faint was still cool, was still like something cool to do, and as she faints, as she actually just like remains like hooked into the side of the plane, so the main character, that I don't remember who it is, has to jump at her and just like open the parachute with her.
That's
like
this movie?
So
Wow,
you remember even less.
I remember that scene vividly. I don't remember it in this movie.
And then there's also he living with his uncle. I remember like some kind, not really homoerotic, but I remember like in a scene where they are like just like bare chest.
Mm-hmm. in their like shop/apartment.
Yeah, like pretty weird. They had like these like wall-to-wall window. They see the Juliette Binoche passing by. There is a scene where Juliette Binoche saves the main character, and he actually she cuts him while saving him, and he's like, "That's bad blood."
So I'm gonna allow you to put yes, but I do want to read just the summary on Google, because I don't remember any of this. A sexually transmitted disease called STBO is sweeping the country. It's spread by having sex without emotional involvement, and most of its victims are teenagers who make love out of curiosity rather than commitment. While a serum that can treat the disease has been formulated, it's been locked away in an inaccessible government building, and a woman hires a man to steal the serum. I remember none of that. Nothing.
Wow. Okay. I don't remember anything of that. I'm going to be. Let me just check out. Yeah, the playing scene. I see the playing scene. Yeah. Okay. I didn't dream it. It's on this movie. I don't remember. I'm not going to go with yes. I'm going to go with no. Honestly, because I don't remember anything about like that sexual transmitted disease. I only remember like a couple of iconic scenes. And she at the end ends up running away. I'm seeing like the photograph like on the snow or something with blood on her face.
I'm very impressed that you remember any of this movie, because I only remember the airplane scene, which we just like laughed and laughed and laughed.
But it's like visually is striking, like that I see. And I think that what I said when we actually discussed this, because we didn't record about it, there is no way of proving it, is like, this is a movie that it has like plenty of photographs and that I would love to print and hang on the wall. But there it has nothing story-wise that I'm going to remember.
All right, I would still allow you to put yes, because you remember way more than I did.
And then going to A Band of Outsiders, should we score it?
Yes.
So this was my... Yeah, so you have to score it first.
I'm going to score it a 7.
A 7? Okay. I'm going to go with a 7.25.
just so you're a little bit higher than me.
But not too much. Not too much.
I would honestly go between a 7.5, and 8 the entire conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there is anything wrong. I just feel like I have Breathless like so fresh, and I was like so impressed by it. It left me like just thinking about it, and I had to say that I didn't think about this movie after I watched it. It was more like,
there's not a lot to like unpack. It didn't like hold a mirror up to society or anything. It just was like, hey, movies are kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe it was like holding a cool mirror to society for just seeing like how lucky you are of living in the 60s. But beyond that, I don't think that there is too much. Yeah. Come on, so this was my pick. Good conversation. Probably we're going, unless you want to watch Breathless and record about it, probably we're going to be like giving it a break to Godard.
Yeah, we're going to give Godard a break. Although there is one more that I really want you to see, but we'll wait several weeks.
All right. Sounds good. So where are we going to be watching this?
We're going to be watching a film that's currently in theaters. I have seen once, and I need to see it again. So I'm forcing Jose to go see it. We're going to go see the Cate Blanchett award vehicle Tar, directed by
Todd Field.
Which, do you remember Todd Field in Eyes Wide Shut?
Oh, what he was an actor?
He was the pianist that gives Tom Cruise the password Fidelio to the sex party. That's Todd Field. And he also directed Little Children. So I'm excited to hear what you think about it, and I'm excited to see it a second time tomorrow.
Wait a second. He didn't direct anything in between Little Children and Tar?
Yeah, that's why it's a big deal. This is his first film in 15 years, and it's like taking the world by storm. So it's also centered around classical music, which I adore. So
yeah. And the funny thing is that he directed some TV, some shorts, but this is his third movie only.
And he's written all of his films. His first 2 films were adaptations, so he adapted novels, but this is his first original script.
Wow. Okay. No, looking forward to it. And I know that it's a 3-hour movie?
2:38, 2 hours and 38, I think.
Okay. Okay, I will be watching it tomorrow.
It's not as long as Celine Dion goes boating, and I watched that for you. So, unless you want me to pick Solaris next.
No, you know that I'm not going to be like doing that to myself. Okay, well, thank you so much for everyone listening to us. This was a great combo. Anything to say?
Wash your hands, guys. Wash your hands.
Yeah, and keep a minute of silence. Maybe we should do that in one of our episodes about like talking is overrated in podcasts. Yeah,
Let's be quiet.
So let's be quiet. Okay, bye.